Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz, they're doing it again. Keep in mind, Rashad Evans just retired. He sent Chuck Liddell on an unreturnable path, essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're going to do this again. I think Tito Ortiz has this in the bag. If you weren't paid to watch it, would you watch it?
Yes.
I would too.
Just for the intrigue, brother. Just for the intrigue. It's in our DNA at this point here that when these legends or pioneers of the sport, some way, somehow, compete again, we just want to see. I mean, it goes back to the Ken Shamrock Kimbo, Ken Shamrock Hoist Gracie in Bellator. Technically speaking, we shouldn't be watching it, but we're going to watch it. We will watch it. We watched it, and at the same time, it's no different than, I'll watch an all-star, old-school, retired, vintage hockey game between the stars of the past against the other stars of the past, just to see how these guys are doing. It's not high-quality hockey for this sport, high-quality mixed martial arts, but, I'm going to watch.
Are you surprised that this is the fight that Golden Boy decided to hitch their wagon to? Because honestly, it's probably the biggest fight that they could put together, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, first of all, Oscar De La Hoya promoting it properly, calling them the legends, and it's the final chapter of these two guys with their bad blood and stuff like that. You got to remember, if you're not the UFC, and technically if you're not Bellator or Ryzen, where you can get these names already under contract, if you can some way, somehow finagle people out and do these one-offs, you're going to do it. And that mentality, I mean, how stacked is that card going to be, really? It's not, right?
No, not at all. Well, from what we know.
Yeah, it's going to be a bunch of people that are going to be loaned from either Bellator or Ryzen, because the UFC will not be loaning anybody to Golden Boy. So you make do with what you have, and it's a conversation I've had. I've had this conversation recently. I would say about 3 weeks ago, with some big name promoters, big name trainers that have fighters in the UFC that are looking to put on promotions. And hey, Joe, how do we get a television deal with Sportsnet or with TSN or with whatever? Well, I said, guys, you're not the UFC. Understand that these mainstream networks, they want the highest quality product out there. They're not going to settle for something that's not George St. Pierre or not Conor McGregor. They want the best of the best. Now, you get Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz, people are going to pay for that. Whether it's pay-per-view or if they can get it on some other network, they'll pay. It's just one of those things, right?
By the way of pay-per-view buys, what would you expect from this, from what we know, Liddell versus Tito Ortiz? Tito seems to believe that they could do 500,000, which, I think if it were in the UFC, I think is a reasonable expectation because of the UFC branding and marketing. Now, I'm not saying that Golden Boy doesn't have marketing, but I wonder how much they know about the MMA market. However, I think that Tito's estimate, if it were in the UFC, is a fair estimate. And if it were in the UFC, the sad thing is it might do better than almost anything that's been out there this year, which is wild to think.
Well, can they do 500,000, Sean? Remember what Oscar De La Hoya could potentially be planning. He had nothing to say about the money fight. And we saw what the money fight did, albeit Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor. They did that world tour. If possible, can you do that with Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz? Will they agree to do a world tour where they do the various stops in all the different media hotbeds?
Could you imagine Chuck Liddell doing a world tour?
What?
Fuck, man.
Yeah.
Shit,
right?
dude. And Tito, when Tito's the stronger talker out of two people, that's a pretty messed up situation in my opinion. Boy, I thought for sure if it happened, it would happen under Bellator, but honestly, Golden Boy I don't want to say Golden Boy can give them more money, especially considering that Bellator just paid $1 million to 50 Cent for the catchphrase, "Get the strap." Boy, that DAZN money, that DAZN money, really coming in useful, huh? Those dumbasses.